Hello and welcome to Tracy Momi Reads. I am back again with another book review. Today, I am going to be talking about The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. The Paradise Problem. And fun fact for those of you who may or may not know, I'm sure if you've read, I think this is my third maybe published book by this author, which is actually a duo. It's two women, Christina Hobbs and Lauren Billings. So I don't know if many people knew that or if you've ever seen this author before, but you've never read their books. It's actually two women. And fun fact number two is I actually found out about these women many moons ago because I was the whole Twilight thing, right? Well, I read some of the fan fiction back in the day, and they were two separate authors that were writing fan fiction back then, and it just, I guess, took off for them, much like it did for what's her name? I think E.L. James, who did the 50 Shades trilogy or whatever. She also started off as a fanfic author. So anyway, I like their style of writing because it's like funny, sarcastic, quirky, just crazy, and it kind of reminds me in some ways. I mean, their writing has drastically improved and has been elevated, but I do remember some of their characters that they wrote back when they were doing the fan fiction, and it kind of brings back the way that they wrote some of their female characters. So anyway, without further ado, The Paradise Problem. Ironically enough, the last book that I read by them, The Unhoneymooners, it also featured a wedding and a tropical vacation. So I don't know. Maybe those are the only two books I've read by them as published authors. Because I can't remember anything else, but I'm just wondering, is that like a theme in their books? But in this particular book, the way that it actually starts off, you have these two characters, Anna and Liam, which is, they actually call him West because his last name is Weston. And Liam is short for William. So this guy, his name is just chopped up throughout. But they met in college, right? And he was getting his master's, I believe, and she was finishing up her undergraduate. And at the time, his father had cut him off, and she just was poor, right? And needed somewhere to stay. So they faked a marriage so that they could get student housing, like married people's housing for college students. And they were roommates, but they really didn't even know each other because they were always like ships passing in the night. She knew his brother. That's how Anna knew, Wes's brother. And that's kind of how they were introduced, and they did this whole thing. But as soon as he graduated, the marriage, she signed divorce papers and they went their separate ways. I mean, they barely knew anything about each other. She just knew she could trust him because he was her friend's brother. He seemed like a decent guy. He was busy trying to get his degree. She was busy trying to do her thing. Well, and all of this is more or less in the blurb. Of course, West and his family, they're like, got lots of money. But again, because his dad cut him off, he had to go through that whole thing with Anna to get housing. But he's kind of back, now that he's older, he's gotten some money from a trust, but his dad wants him to come and take over, the family business, which he is very reluctant to do. Well, his sister is getting married, and, the mom just wants everybody to be like cool just for the weekend, and we'll figure everything else out. But he's kind of been estranged from his family. He's a professor, and he's been estranged from his family. Number one, because him and his dad do not get along. But he also told them, that he was married to this woman. So he was going to say that they had broken up, but again, in the blurb, there's a clause in the will that his grandfather left behind regarding all the money and his trust and everything, that he has to be married to get that money. So turns out he found that out after Anna had signed the divorce papers, and he never filed them. So technically they are still married. And there's like this waiting period that he was waiting for so that he could, make sure he had his money. Then he was going to file the papers. But now his sister's wedding has come up, and because his family knows that he's married, they've never met her. The mom is like, bring her to the wedding. It's time we all meet her. This has gone on long enough. Well, they all think she is somebody that she totally is not, because keep in mind, Wes don't really know anything about her. He was under the impression that she was a medical student, and at this point that she is about to be a doctor. She dropped out of the medical program back when they were in college, but they didn't talk, so he didn't know that. But anyway, Anna she's like she is the total opposite of him in every way. Her mother ran off and left her with her dad, who raised her, and they did not have a lot of money, and the only reason why she's working now is she takes like odd jobs. She was working at a gas station. She's been a waitress because her dad is sick, and she's trying to help with the money and all that stuff. So when Wes comes back after all this time and finds her and is like, hey, I'm gonna need you to pretend like we're married, she's like, no, I can't. I don't want to. This is dumb. No, me and you are like oil and water. I'm going to embarrass you. So he offers to pay her, and she needs the money. So she goes for it, and we enter this whole fake relationship, fake marriage trope. And I will tell you, I really loved Anna's character. She was ridiculous, like in the best possible way. She had no filter. Like nothing really embarrassed her. Like everything with her is like, it is what it is. What you see is what you get. She was unapologetic, because like, what would be the point of apologizing about stuff that she couldn't control, right? Well, again, because she needs the money, she goes along with this. And the wedding, because these people are so super stupid rich, it's on like some secluded private island. And it's just like their family and friends on the island, and she gets like a makeover. One of her friends helps her with the makeover, and you can already tell just from his reaction to her where things are headed as far as the fake possibly becoming the real. Okay, the thing that kept the tension going, you would think, would have been maybe their relationship, but I feel like she was a good contrast, because she was so just like carefree and unconcerned, whereas Liam West was just so rigid, and we've got to do this right, and this is how we're going to play it, and here's the schedule, and here's the thing. She obviously had to break him out of that, and he had to also show her that you can't just be floundering through life without plans. So they were becoming friends and helping each other out, so it wasn't as much tension between the two of them. It was West and his brother. He had a brother named Alex, who was the oldest, but not the favorite. And he was causing problems along the way. But what he didn't realize is that the more he talked, and the more, because he was suspicious, he didn't really think their marriage was real. But the more he talked and the more he was putting stuff out there, he put himself at risk too, because the clause about keeping the money applied to everybody, like all of him and his siblings. He had two brothers, because Alex wasn't the one that had introduced him and Anna. This was the older brother. The other brother, I can't remember his name, but the younger one is who introduced Wes and Anna. But anyway, so they had to like really play it up so that nobody would know it was fake. And as a result, in these kinds of stories, they end up falling for each other for reals, right? And they, the thing that I did appreciate is that there was a conversation about that. This wasn't one of those things where in some stories where one of the characters, they start developing feelings, but they feel like their feelings won't be reciprocated. So they never say anything, and they just go their separate ways and all this bullshit. No, they both were like, I like you. Well, I like you too. Well, how can we make this real? It was a whole conversation, and they were going to try to go down that path. But then of course Alex, he messed everything up because he found something out, and I won't tell you what it was, but he tried to blow up the spot, and just he put events into motion that felt like they were insurmountable, which led to Anna and Wes giving up the gig and kind of going their separate ways. But then something happened where another character who was crazy, who was on Wes's side of the family, who she really liked, Anna, she came forth with some information that kind of turned everything around. Okay, won't tell you what happened there either. You got to read it to find out. But what she did ended up bringing Wes and Anna back together, you know, at least momentarily, so that they could get over the obstacle and then kind of sort out their feelings for each other. And even though I have, like, you know, a physical copy, you know, book of the month, I emailed myself so I could have notes on my Kindle, but I make notes while I read in the reading list app. You know, I talked about that being one of my favorite apps, where I kind of track my books, and you know, while I'm reading, I can go in there and make notes and have those notes digitally. Well, because I'm recording on my phone, I had to like email myself the thing. It's so high tech over here. But I don't know if y'all can see, like, the thing that's important to see is all the yellow circles. Those are all laughing emojis and crying emojis and stuff, because the book was just so funny. That is one thing I like about these two authors and their writing style. Not only with the pop culture references, but they are just such witty women, you know, like, and it's dry humor, it's dark humor, it's sarcastic humor, all right up my alley. So even during, you know, times where there was drama, or maybe something that, you know, felt a little angsty, there was always these quips and these things that were going throughout the story. Yeah, there were just so many things about the book that I love. You can see have some little flags here, but it was a really good read. I think I read it in like 2 days. It was lighthearted. The angst is very, very minimal. I like books where the main characters are truly adults and they weren't, I don't even know if these people were in their 30s yet, or I think Liam was. They may have been in their early 30s or whatever, but they were true adults in the sense that they communicated. There wasn't a lot of, oh, I wonder what she's thinking, I wonder what he's thinking, or, you know, that type of thing. It's like, hey, what's your deal? Well, this is my deal, what's your deal? You know, they talked about things, so they were able to kind of move on to the next issue, because I don't like books like that especially in the romance genre, where you have all this angst behind miscommunication. Now, if somebody did something and, you know, you're working your way through the betrayal, or, you know, or death or something like that, then that can't be helped. But just because somebody won't open their mouth and say something, I don't like books like that. And that's not the case with The Paradise Problem. And even the ending, I mean, it's par for the course, and I'm sure this isn't a spoiler, but it was a happy ending, and I felt that it was satisfying. I felt that it was plausible. It didn't feel rushed, because remember I said there was like a separation, so we had to build back up to that relationship, and it wasn't like contrived, you know, it all made sense. So yeah, if you love romance books, if you love the fake marriage or fake relationship trope, if you like sarcastic, funny heroines, the grumpy sunshine dynamic, I think that was kind of at play in this book as well. The billionaire trope. I mean, so many romance tropes in this one book. But if you like all of that, with a book that's going to also give you a happily ever after, then you definitely should check out The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. If you haven't read The Paradise Problem, I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you like this video and go ahead and take the opportunity to subscribe to my channel if you have not already. If you have already, thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Bye.